Hey all, Tyler here with e-bike commuting. Today we're going to talk about cargo e-bikes, specifically the Urban Arrow family, which I've had for the past 9 months and I put over 750 miles on it. So I'm excited to share my experience with you. So first, let's rewind to the beginning of this year. Jody and I were at a crossroads because we were deciding which type of cargo e-bike we wanted to purchase for our family. We were deciding between the Bakfiets style, which is a Dutch style that has the big cargo bin in the front. Those tend to be much more expensive and they're pretty common in Europe. The other style, which is more common here in the US, is the long tail cargo bike. These are the ones that have a rear bench seat behind the rider that you can put a couple kids on. Well, so as Jody and I were discussing all the different types we could get and the various trade-offs of each, we got some news that Jody was actually expecting. We had our third child on the way. And so with that news, it was very clear to us that we needed to go with the Bakfiets style, which has the cargo bin up front and you can fit 3 kids in them. So yeah, we excitedly looked at a few options and ultimately selected the Urban Arrow family as our choice. So we got it in March of this year and I've been riding it ever since. In this video, I'm going to walk you through what I really like about it and then also where it falls short. So let's get to it. First things first is the cargo bin. This is the main selling point of the Urban Arrow. It's 31 inches long and 22 inches wide back here at the seat where the kids sit. It can easily fit 2 toddlers side by side and then a couple grocery bags up front. It does come with an optional third seat that you can add onto the front. I haven't done that yet, but we do plan to do that when our third is old enough to ride in this. That obviously, once you have 3 kids up front, that restricts the cargo space here. So I'm going to be adding some pretty large panniers to the back rear rack, and that will become where like all the kids' gear and stuff is stored for on the trips to and from school. One thing Jody and I didn't really think about when we were deciding which style to get of the cargo bin up front or the rear rack was just the riding experience with kids. And we were pleasantly surprised by the experience of having the kids up front. Sitting up here, they get a great 180-degree unobstructed view of the ride. They can really see things, point things out. And then also as you're riding along, you can look down at them and you can interact with them much easier than if they're behind you. The other thing with the bin that's an unexpected plus is that you can give them snacks or they can hold a toy, and if they drop it, it just falls into the bin. It doesn't fall off the bike. Whereas previously when we had the toddler seat, seated behind you on a more traditional bike, we didn't want them carrying anything. Sometimes they'd have a pass seat or something and they'd drop it. And then you obviously wouldn't know about it, you just keep riding. Urban Arrow also doesn't skimp on quality. The Bosch Cargo Line motor handles most hills with ease, and the motor is also pretty quiet, and that combined with the belt drive make for a very smooth pedaling experience. It's great for wet weather, mud, and grit, and it's super easy to clean. And while yes, the e-bike weighs 110 pounds, the brakes work really well. They have a ton of stopping power. For the wet Seattle weather we have here, the premium rain cover was a plus. Like that was an essential purchase. I've been really happy with it. It keeps the kids super cozy while I have to brave the elements, and it's simple enough to take on and off. Urban Arrow also sells a sunshade. We decided not to go with that, and I think it was the right decision. While the rain cover is great for wet weather, the kids definitely have a preference. They prefer not to ride with it because it does block their view a little bit. Obviously when it's raining and wet, we just say like, hey, we're riding, we have the rain cover for the winter months, and they get used to it. But for the summer months, having a sunshade that blocks the view a little bit and obstructs it, even for some sun protection, I don't think outweighs the benefits of having them being able to see a lot. So, ultimately you're putting sunscreen on them no matter what. So might as well let them enjoy the sun and enjoy the views. The Urban Arrow starts at $7,000. So it's quite an investment. And Jody and I viewed it as a car replacement. Instead of having to purchase a second vehicle with 3 kids to get around to doctor's appointments or to schools or other activities, we were hoping that this would replace that car purchase. After 9 months, it's safe to say that yes, it did. We only have 1 car, and the Urban Arrow family is essentially our second car. I was thinking I probably need to get a big decal for the side that says "one less minivan." Let's talk about some of the shortcomings of the Urban Arrow. The biggest is probably the lack of front suspension. It's definitely noticeable on rough terrain. Now, it's not terrible, but I've found that I need to stay really vigilant and avoid big bumps to ensure a smooth ride for the kids in the cargo bin. If I hit a big bump, they definitely let me know about it. Another drawback is the limited range. Urban Arrow advertises 30 miles on a single charge, but I've found when you ride on turbo mode, and believe me, with it weighing over 110 pounds, turbo mode is very much critical to enjoying your ride. When you have it on turbo mode and you've got it loaded with kids and gear and you've got some hills on your route, you're looking at closer to like 12 miles, maybe 15. It's going to be hard to take it out for an entire day of going to parks and lunches and another park. You know, that kind of day is going to be somewhat limited on the Urban Arrow. Urban Arrow does offer a dual battery upgrade. The bike shop I purchased this bike at quoted me, I think it was like $2,000 to $3,000 for that dual battery upgrade. I passed at the time. That's one regret I have, is I wish I had opted for that, just to make it so I could go out and do like a longer weekend day of riding, and then also make sure I don't, if I forget to charge at night, the next day on Sunday, I don't have a low battery. It also would just help during the week. You know, I would only need to charge once maybe during the week, instead of right now I could pretty much charge every other day. One other limitation I've noticed is that the Enviolo shifter has a limited range compared to a traditional cassette shifting system. While I do like the dynamic shifter Enviolo has, the limited range means you have fewer gears for steep hills. I've only really noticed this limited range on a gradient that's like 15% or more. I do have one on the way home from daycare pretty much every day, so I do notice it right at the very end of that hill. I'm really losing momentum and having trouble spinning, getting a high enough cadence to like keep the momentum of the bike going up. So yeah, that's one limitation. I know there's some other brands that offer more traditional just chain drives that have a larger range on the cassette. I don't know. I think I prefer the belt drive and the Enviolo shifter, even though it is slightly limited range. I don't really think it's a huge deal breaker. The final area I want to call out is the handlebars. So they are kind of a swooped design. And for someone like me who has broader shoulders and, you know, I want to really place my hands out a little bit wider, I'm used to mountain biking handlebars that are much wider. To get your hands to be perfectly in the grips, I kind of have to scrunch my shoulders and my wrists a bit, which isn't the most comfortable. So I tend to actually just place my hands on the outer part of the grip. This is just a small issue, but something worth mentioning that, you know, at the time when I test rode, I didn't notice, but after riding for 700 miles, you start to notice those little things. So that's my experience with the Urban Arrow family. I think all the benefits far outweigh those downsides. I've been super happy with this bike, plan to keep riding it. It's been a great addition to the family, and it's really made it so we can just stick to one car, and the kids just love riding in it, so that's always fun. If you're in the market for a cargo e-bike, I think this one should be at the top of your list. If you have experience riding the Urban Arrow or have any questions, just drop them in the comments and I'll try to respond. Thanks and happy riding.